Hi, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Galit Speaks. I'm super excited to introduce our guest today, Tasha Elizabeth. Her mom was born in Prague and wanted to give her a Czech inspired name, so it's actually spelled Tasa. She's a native Coloradan, recently and purposefully transplanted into OKC, Oklahoma, married for 9 years and has an 8-year-old boy and a 2-year-old girl. She's currently a stay at home mom helping run her small businesses. She also previously spent 13 years in the oil and gas industry, spending most of her career in one of the most sought after positions. For the past 3 years, she's been working on stepping into her new desired identity. Thank you so much for being here, Tasha.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Yeah, I'm super excited because we get to talk about some of my favorite topics. The first is my favorite because I identify with it so much, not because it's a happy topic, but I understand you had uh, a very difficult childhood. Can you tell us a little bit more about what you went through?
Yeah, sure. Well, looking back on it, I actually grew in a very lucky situation because I grew up on 10 acres in the mountains. I had a little brother. So he and I, uh, we were our partners in crime. We were kind of looked after by our great grandfather while my mom worked every single, 5 days a week. So she wasn't really home a lot. And my stepdad, he kind of wasn't really home. He'd kind of pop in and out. So we kind of had free reign of the place, and we didn't have toys. We only had 5 TV channels, so that forced us outside. So we had our bikes and our dogs in the mountains. So that actually, I feel really privileged to have grown up that way. Um, but in hindsight, yeah, the difficult part of it, and when you're a child, you don't really recognize it. But looking back, I had my mom had many relationships, and luckily for me, my primary younger years, for 10 years of my life, I had a stepdad, and he was great. He taught me a lot, but in 2019, he passed away, and right up in that last year of his health problems, we come to find out that he had been a drug dealer his whole life.
Wow.
And I don't know if my mom knew that or not. I mean, I would assume she did. Um, and just thinking back on that just seems so scary to have been living in a house where people are coming and going, and if for those types of reasons.
Yep.
um, and so that part of it didn't really become difficult until later on in life when I learned about it. Um, and the unfortunate part about people coming and going too is a lot of them were not good people. Um, there was a lot of police activity, with not necessarily my mom or my dad, but just people that they knew. But the more dramatic part of my childhood, and more so as actually a teenager, is when my mom and my stepdad got divorced. And I was about, I want to say 14 when that started happening. And my mom ran into an old friend, and they hit it off. And he turned out to be a pretty rough guy. Um, he he toted around a sawed-off shotgun around his um, crossbody. He broke into Hostess trucks and stole things, and he was a criminal.
Yeah.
And it wasn't what's unfortunate about it is obviously me and my brother were subjected to that situation. But then my mom also became pregnant and she had 2 more children. And so I have a younger brother and sister that are 15 and 16 years younger than me.
Okay.
And my closer brother and I ended up kind of raising them because my mom, she had to work, and the dad was kind of, off in la la land. My classification of domestic violence in my mom's situations was more so financial abuse, emotional abuse, and just this sense of, what would it be called? Like dominance, I guess, with these men. My mom was really lucky because the house we lived in was my great grandfather's house, and we were all really lucky. But these men that she had in her life destroyed our property. 2 times we had to clean up, like hoarder type situations. At one point, our house was almost inhabitable. We couldn't take showers. We had to go to a friend's house to shower because it's just destroyed. So I don't think many people have to go through those types of situations, and obviously everyone's upbringing is different, but that certainly made me, shaped me the way I am today.
Yeah. I think that when people hear domestic violence, they assume that it's going to be someone who beat you. And that's not always the case, right? It's still very much abuse when it is emotional abuse and mental abuse and financial abuse. It's some of the biggest, ways of controlling.
Yeah. Yeah, it was really unfortunate for my mom and her family, or us as a family. We filed bankruptcy. We were on WIC's food stamps. My mom got her car repoed. We almost lost our house. It was a tough time, and my mom was always my guiding light, and she was a brilliant woman. She did spend, same as me, a lot of time of her career in oil and gas. And luckily, she did get a really good job in oil and gas once my younger siblings kind of were really young. And so she focused really, really hard on her career at that point when she snagged that role. And luckily, she was able to keep it for the rest of her life. I didn't mention, but my mom passed away in 2019 of stage 4 colon cancer.
Oh my gosh, I'm sorry.
Thank you. It was a hard time for our whole family, and more so for my younger siblings because they're so young.
Yeah.
And my stepdad, he passed away in the same year, so it was just a crazy year for all of us.
Yeah. And didn't help that 2020 was madness and has kind of continued the madness until now. So your childhood being what it was, how did that shape you and make you want something different? And what were the things like there are a lot of things in my childhood that because of them, I swore this would never happen or that would never happen, or there's this red flag that as soon as I see it, I am jumping ship. What were your things?
Well, I mean, I saw how hard my mom struggled to provide for us, and I saw how close we came to losing everything. And so in my younger 20s, I worked my butt off. I didn't say no to anything because I wanted to make money. I wanted to own a home. I wanted to be financially stable. And so that's what I did. Now I'm not going to say that I regret that at all, but when I quit my job in 2019, I feel like all my hard work kind of like paid off, and now I was able to give me this life now, which comes to my second subject, which is being able to spend time with my kids. Because I have really great memories with my mom. We did a lot of adventures like camping and hiking and riding bikes, and we did a lot of fun stuff. But she still wasn't really there. She was working a lot. And I didn't want to be that to be the case for me with my kids. I want to be present with them. So that's another big subject in my life. I'm kind of putting my career on hold to be with my family, which was tough because I'm such a go-getter and I'm very like oriented in like a structure. I do really well like in a team environment. And so just how I mentioned that I'm kind of like building my new life or my changing my identity in a way, it very much so feels that way for me because I did like this huge 180.
Yeah. So what made you want to leave, your career in the oil and gas industries?
Well, that industry in particular is just, it's a lot. It's a grind. It's 24/7, 7 days a week. You're working 5 days from 5 a.m. till 6 p.m. You're at your desk all day long. And on the weekends, you even have to work. It's just, I had just done it for too long. And I had already missed 3 years of my son's life. And my husband kind of brought it to my attention. He's like, "You're missing out on your son growing up." And I was like, "No, I'm not. I'm here." And he's like, "No, you're not."
Yeah.
And we wanted to grow our family too. And so when I quit my job, well, we had been trying to have another child for several years. And literally when I quit my job 2 months later, we were blessed with getting pregnant with my daughter.
Aw.
So I feel like it was just a really stressful environment, and that probably just took a big toll on my body. And I didn't know it. My husband really had to wake me up to kind of like what I was putting myself through.
Yeah.
And it's not because I hated it or anything. I really enjoyed it. I was really good at it, but I was working way too much.
Yeah. So as a stay-at-home mother, what are the different things that you get to do with your kids, or what are the different habits that you've created with them?
Well, I would say that it's definitely been a privilege and a struggle for me. Privilege aspect obviously is every single day I'm with my daughter all day long. Right. Lately she's been a wild animal because she's almost 3. But I have so many memories and so much time I've spent with her. I feel like her and I have just shaped each other. And same with my son, he's in school during the day, but I get to do school drop off and pick up, and I do activities with him. I get to go on his field trips. During the week, I take my daughter to gymnastics. So it's very much so like a huge privilege for me to be able to live this life with them.
Yeah.
And as far as the struggle is concerned, I still haven't figured it out. To not have to wake up for somebody else and get like that I have to show up for to like do a job. It sounds weird, like waking up for my kids, obviously that's a job, but it hasn't clicked in my brain. So I've actually done several years of therapy and habit building, even before I quit my job. And that's really helped me just like form habits to be able to basically build on my day and have something to wake up to other than just my kids. Obviously I want to wake up for my kids. That's why I'm doing this, but it's just as weird. I don't think anyone will really understand it unless you're in it. Quitting a job and becoming a full-time parent is just, it's hard to figure out. So I just started implementing small things. Like in the morning, I make a matcha. And so I wake up looking forward to making my matcha. And at night, I do the dishes so that when I wake up in the morning, I'm not mad that the dishes are in the sink. So it's just small things really that help me that have helped me build that structure that I'm so used to with walking into a job.
Yeah. Yeah. How do you feel like your childhood has contributed to the way you do things now?
Well, luckily for me, my stepdad was he was raised on a farm, and so he kept us in line. We were taught how to clean, keep the house clean, do chores, sweep, dig ditches, open our eyes and look around for things that need to be done. We had animals to take care of. So I'm really privileged to have had like that guidance as a young kid and being able to bring that into my adult life. And in all previous relationships until my husband, it's been a struggle being in a relationship with somebody that wasn't taught how to do the dishes, how to sweep the floor, how to clean the bathroom, all of these things that you would assume people should know how to do. But not everyone had that guiding light to show them all of these adult tasks, right? So
Yeah.
before I had kids, I was very like OCD. House had to be clean. It was very much so like a part of me. Just being that I grew up needing, my dad was like, clean house or you don't get to do anything, right?
Right.
So once I had kids, I kind of had to drop that expectation,
Yeah.
and we'll lower my expectation. Maybe sometimes drop it fully. I had to lower my expectation. But that certainly is something that's stuck with me my whole life, is just, I guess maybe it too is like, I'm just worried about becoming like a hoarder, like a legit hoarder, like I've seen happen in my
Yeah.
life. And I think let's think about something else that might have stuck with me as a child. Well, I'm kind of like a worry wart type mom, like maybe a helicopter mom in a way, just
Mhm.
because I didn't have that in my mom. And so like my kids aren't allowed to do like sleepovers, and I don't let my son run around the neighborhood. And I don't know. I think that I'm really protective because I just don't want anything bad to ever happen to my kids. And I because I've seen it. And again, not everyone has the experience to unfortunately have to see things like that happen in their life.
Yeah. Do you feel like you worry more because you have seen some of the darker sides of, what could happen to a kid, and it causes you to go extra the other way?
I mean, I feel like I do. I feel like I worry more. But I think it's more just being aware and cautious and not frivolous with these like precious lives that I'm in charge of. And things are just so much different this day and age, too. Even from 30 years ago till now, I ran around the mountain all by myself. I could have been eaten by a mountain lion, a bear, or snatched by some, like, I don't know, mountain man or something. But I just don't want to leave something like that up to chance.
Yeah. And you said that you recently moved to Oklahoma. How did that happen? And you said it was a purposeful move. So what went on there?
Well, it was kind of like a series of events. Since I quit my job, we were conscious about finances, right? So, like, I sold my car and we cut down on things that we didn't need, like subscriptions and services. And we just kind of hunkered down. And then COVID hit and everything started going crazy. I've always been really into like real estate. So I've always kept a good eye on like our home value and everything. And for years, I'd been looking at our home value and saying, wow, you know, the industry thinks our house is worth this much. That's amazing. Wouldn't it be so cool to sell it and make this money and move somewhere else and blah, blah, blah. Well, then it just became exponentially like greater, all in a matter of like 1 year because of just the real estate, especially in Colorado. So my husband and I actually renovated our kitchen during COVID all by ourselves.
Wow.
We ripped it, like gutted it to the drywall, did all new everything. And finally I had my dream kitchen. And then my husband came home from a trip to Oklahoma because we became investors in a business out here in Oklahoma. And he says, do you want to move to Oklahoma? And he's like, we can sell our house and we can make this much. And so first I was like, no way. Why would you want to move to Oklahoma? Like, that sounds terrible. But then I started, doing the math and thinking about what our life could be like with more financial freedom.
Yeah.
And I started looking for the positive side of, what could come out of us moving to Oklahoma. And I started looking at real estate in Oklahoma, and the houses here are really nice. They're like castles compared to Colorado. It's just a different, they started growing it as communities at a more later time. So there's newer houses as opposed to Colorado was kind of like established more in the 70s. So there's a lot of 70s homes. They're all old and junky. So I'm like, okay, so we can make all this money. We can get a nicer house. And what else? What else is the benefit? And I think what sold me, and this is funny, I Googled it, vegan food, Oklahoma City. And there was a bunch of it. And I started looking at the menus. I'm like, wow, all of this sounds really good. And surprisingly, I was like, wow, there's a lot of vegan food in Oklahoma City. Like, okay, I'm in. So we just sent it. We sold everything. We sold our cars, our house, our commercial building, our business, everything.
Yeah. So let me ask you, how long have you been vegan?
So I had this gradual transition to becoming vegan. I've been solely vegan since 2018, but I started my journey in 2014. It was just this catalyst of when my mom was diagnosed with cancer, the stage 4 colon cancer. I immediately just jumped on I got to help her. I got to figure out what can I do to help. So I decided I was going to start meal prepping for her and delivering her food. And I was researching, what's the best food for my mom, which if she's got cancer, right? And so I found like, you should probably stick to organic food. So I'm like, organic food. Okay. And I start cooking her organic food. And I've already known a lot about food, I think my whole life. Traditionally, my family was very, dinner time was our thing. We always had a really yummy home cooked meal for dinner. And that was primarily designated by my great grandfather. We'd sit down at the dinner table. We'd have, our main course, our salad, dessert. And so I've actually grew up cooking. And I really have enjoyed it. I became kind of a foodie in my 20s. And anyway, so I started cooking for my mom. And I was sharing my findings with a friend who was living in London at the time. And she started sharing some of her findings with me because she was pescatarian. And she was telling me about this is kind of what set me on my vegan journey, because I probably would have just stuck with being eating organic food. Yeah. But then my friend told me about what they do to baby chicks. And then I was like, oh crap, well now I can't eat poultry. And then I was like, oh, well, I actually feel a lot better when I'm not eating poultry, because I've also always struggled with stomach aches my whole life since I was a kid. So I was like, hey, I feel better not eating poultry. And then I started watching documentaries. It was just this spiral, right? Like you open the can of worms, and if you don't say no to it, like, you're going down. I watched several documentaries on all of the platforms. And by 2017, I had finally eliminated all meats from my diet. And I was still eating cheese. And by 2018, I had eliminated cheese. And 2018 and 2019, I felt really, really good. I think I was at my prime post, because I had been postpartum about 3 or 4 years. So I had, worked out and worked off my baby weight. I was feeling really, really great. And then I got pregnant again. But actually, my pregnancy was really good. Vegan pregnancy was really good. I did get a little bit of pushback from my, the health industry, but I stuck with it, and I did not have any problems whatsoever. And till this day, my daughter eats what I eat, and I just kind of have this philosophy that when she grows old enough to make her own decisions, she can decide what she wants to feed herself. And until then, I'm not doing any harm, because I still take her to her pediatrician. And, at her 2-year-old appointment, they did a standard anemic blood test, and her iron levels were normal. And so she's been in the 90th percentile her whole life. Like, she's happy and healthy.
Yeah. I think it's such a huge misconception that vegan diets are lacking in nutrients, because I'm also vegan, and my journey was also kind of like a long, drawn out process. But for me, it was actually the dairy that went first.
Oh, yeah.
I'm allergic to dairy. And so it started off as being lactose intolerant, and then it turned into like a full-blown allergy. And once that happened, it was like very easy to just, okay, quit all dairy. And then because I kept getting sick at restaurants, because I started going to a lot of vegan restaurants and eating a lot of vegan food, because anytime that I went to a restaurant vegan, they thought my allergy was like a preference, or they didn't realize the different things have dairy in them. And I ended up getting sick a lot at restaurants. And so I was just like, you know what? I'll just stick with like vegan products or stuff that I cook myself, because I know that I'm not going to get sick. And then I met my husband, and at that time I was only still eating really eggs. And then I met my husband, and he was vegan, and he started showing me the documentaries and telling me about, because we're vegan, he's vegan for the animals, not for health at all. Because you could be a very not healthy vegan as well. There's a lot of vegan junk food. But he started, showing me the documentaries, and we started talking about, the cognitive dissonance that you have when you are not vegan and love animals, and saying you love animals, but then eating them. And that hit me really hard. And just even further for me, like, consent is a huge thing for me, and the animal cannot consent to me taking from it at all. And so even like in the, even in honey or dairy or things like that, like, I won't touch, because I just don't feel that it's right to take something that belongs to another living being. So So it was kind of like a long drawn out process, but I actually have a heart condition, and one of the first things that my doctor and my naturopath said, they were like, what, what's your diet like? And I was like, vegan. And they're like, that's good. Stay with the vegan diet, because it's actually better for you as long as you are doing it healthily. And there's plenty of supplements and plenty of vitamins. And even in vegan pregnancy, my friend just had a baby recently, and she was fully vegan, and the baby is fully vegan. And again, they are like perfectly healthy. Everybody was fine. I work with a vegan nutritionist, and there are so many ways to get the protein, to get the vitamins, to get the nutrients that we don't have to take from animals. And I think that's like a very powerful thing to understand, of like, people say like, oh, we need this because we need it to live, but that's not true. The animals get their protein from plants, and so can we.
Yeah. Yes, I agree with everything you have to say. One of my favorite actually audiobooks that really stuck with me over the last couple of years is Fiber Fueled, because it's very much scientific, doctor-based, fact-based. And a lot of the information in there is just like so eye-opening about, your cardiac responses to plants versus animal products, and how just eliminating animal products and starting to eat plants only can plaque buildup in your heart. I forget the name for it, but I'm just like, why is this not like being shouted? Well, we all know why. Just because, pharma and the big pharma and all of the mass culture, like everything. I don't even want to go down that road, honestly.
Yeah, the dairy industries, the meat industries, they pay a lot of money so that you don't find out things. The fishing industry, like there's so much, especially right now in fish, that is so harmful. With another thing that I'm very passionate about is, protecting the ocean and ocean conservation. And we've put so much plastic into the ocean that these microplastics are in just about every single fish, and in large quantities. And so we're literally eating plastic when we eat fish. And so there are so many, and with, the farming industry, like they are being fed hormones and not even the type of thing that they would eat naturally. And so it's a very different kind of meat that you're introducing into your body. It's actually not something that it's a lot of things that you don't want to have in your body.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So it's really interesting to see. I think I watched this documentary called Game Changers. I think that's what it was called. Game Changer or Game Changers. Have you seen it?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So they were actually showing that they did blood tests when athletes would eat like a vegan diet versus a meat diet, and you actually saw that their blood was like cloudier. And so thinking about that and having your body run as like this well-oiled machine, it's really difficult to do so if you're not putting in the best ingredients.
Yep. Absolutely. Yeah, the Game Changer, that was actually a really good documentary. And my husband was actually really intrigued by a lot of the science that came up in that one.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that was one of the last ones that I saw, and I was like, oh, I think that this is the way for me to go. And I was slowly moving there, and I just got really lucky meeting someone who was already vegan because that helped tremendously. I can't tell you how much easier it was for me to go vegan. Just because with vegan there's a lot of substitutes. And so meeting someone who had been doing it for so many years and already knew what was good, what was not good, what tasted right, what didn't taste right, that was a huge like switch for me because I was like, yeah, I can do this.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. You got lucky. I'm kind of on your husband's side. Like I've done all my R&D with trying, and now I'm on this kind of mission to just kind of steer clear of most processed products whatsoever. I really enjoy cooking, so much so that I like to create things from scratch. So I'll make homemade seitan. I always have like a cashew cream sauce in my fridge. I like to make my own kraut. Let's see what else I make. I juice ginger and I keep it in my freezer so I can add it to like water or bubbly water with orange juice. So I'm just getting that the benefit from the ginger every day when I'm hydrating. I'm kind of obsessed. But I really love cooking from scratch. But that being said, yeah, I've done all my R&D and I have friends here in Oklahoma City that are kind of like starting out wanting to become plant-based or get better at knowing what to do when becoming plant-based. And I guess that's what we're calling it now, plant-based. That's okay. But there's so much out there now on the grocery store shelves that, again, aren't very good for you. And so one of my friends here, I kind of gave her like a list, like, okay, this is what if you're gonna want to do an overhaul of your kitchen, your fridge and your pantry and your freezer, this is what I think you should always have in stock. So I gave her a list, and then we talked about how to make things from scratch rather than going to the grocery store and buying these processed products. Now, I will say there's a good variety of things that are good for you, but the problem is you have to turn the product over and you have to read the label and you have to know what these ingredients are. Right now, for me, I'm staying away from pretty much all oils except for avocado and olive oil. I'm staying away from pretty much any added ingredients like natural flavors, citric acid, anything I literally don't know what it is. But if I find a product that's got like seven ingredients, I'm like, okay, I'll buy this one.
Yeah. Yeah, it's definitely when you do it for health reasons, or when you do it in a healthy way, just like being healthy in general, right? You have to turn it over because whether it's plant-based or not plant-based, like if you can't read the ingredient, chances are it's not good for you.
Exactly.
Yeah, and I think that's so the way that you're doing it is amazing, but also super hard. I feel like um, it's I don't make everything from scratch. I try to make a lot of stuff from scratch. But the other thing that I've gotten really good about is finding local like cottage kitchen vendors who
Oh
make
yeah,
things from scratch and then buying it from them.
that's smart.
Yeah,
Okay,
because
so what state are you in? Because you have the cottage law too, so you can buy from homemakers basically.
yeah, and I love it because then I get to support small businesses and eat healthy and stay true to, my values. I'm in Arizona.
Okay, so we
Yeah.
have the cottage law here too, and a lot of it is just bakers. And I actually haven't really seen much vegan related um, here, and I've thought about it personally. Like, ooh, what could I do to share? Because I just love to share. I love to feed people. I love to make people feel welcome and just part of something.
Yeah, so we have so because Arizona has many, many days of sunshine and it's pretty much always good weather, we have farmers markets that happen year round weekly. And so a lot of the vendors come out to that. So I have a vendor for cashew cream cheese. I have a vendor for cashew milk. I mean, I have this vendor that has like all different deli meats slash cheeses slash all different other things. There are some really cool like raw food vendors, um, bakers, just about anything that you can imagine. So I'm like a big fan of that. If somebody else can do it better, then I would love to support them and help them live their dream and allow me to do what I do best and still be able to have the good stuff.
That's awesome. Man, good find. I'm going to have to start keeping my eyes peeled.
Yeah, I love it here. And that was one of the great things because I used to live in New York, and so there was a lot of vegan stuff in New York and a lot of vegan food places, and that was one of the first things about Phoenix, Arizona, that really appealed to me is they did have a lot of vegan food and a lot of healthy food and a lot of like vegan food in the supermarkets. Um, and that really appealed to me. So I totally get when you said like I researched Oklahoma and saw they had vegan places and was like, yes.
Exactly. Oh, that's so funny. We're kind of in the same boat.
Yeah, it's always amazing when you go to somewhere that has all the vegan options or um I had an amazing time. I just this is my first time. So I'm Israeli and it was my first time going back to Israel as a vegan this past year. I just came back in March. I was there for almost a month and that was like one of my favorite things because Tel is like the vegan capital of the world and they have so much vegan food and things are so healthy and just the way that they eat there, like going there and taking my husband there, we actually did change our eating habits coming back because we were so inspired by the different way that we could eat, like just having lots of little plates of lots of salads and being able to have like an array of things rather than in America, we're so used to like you have your vegetable and you have your starch and you've got your protein, right? Like that's your plate.
Yep.
But it doesn't have to be like that. You can have like 5 different salads and have like a little protein and like it can be exciting rather than this kind of chore that you do every day.
Yeah. Oh, totally.
Yeah, so I think that's like one of the things that I look for now on vacations is like I need to make sure that I can find vegan food easily.
Oh, absolutely. That's the first thing I'm looking for. Where's
Yeah.
the food?
So as a vegan parent, does your son also eat only vegan?
No, he does not. So my husband and my son are not vegan,
Okay.
but basically how it works in my house is I cook whatever I want to cook as our base. So I'll
Mhm.
make sure it's kind of like a full meal for everyone, right? And then my husband will add whatever he wants to it. If and we've got to the point now where I'm actually not like I don't have like sensory issues or anything. So like if somebody wants me to prepare meat for them, okay, fine. I'll do it. But my husband, he doesn't even like it either. So we're to the point now where we just buy like pre-cooked and then he'll just like warm it up and add it to his food. And so my son's kind of the same way. And my son goes to public school and he eats lunch at school. And
Mhm.
I feel like that's something I'm building up and going to have to prepare for with my daughter is how I'm going to handle that.
Yeah.
Because I've kind of just been so relaxed with what he eats and he just kind of does whatever he wants. Besides, I still don't let him do like food dyes, Gatorades, candies, stuff like that. I do have some control over that. So that's how it works for us right now. I don't really see it changing with my husband. Potentially my son as he gets older and I continue to spread my wisdom into his
Yeah.
brain. But I mean, it's just this fine line between like, I feel like if everyone could see what happens on these farms and in these slaughterhouses, nobody would eat meat. But I have not exposed my son to that vision. That I haven't shown him any of the documentaries or anything like that yet. I don't know when is an appropriate time, I guess. And maybe
Yeah.
once he asks and wants to see it, because he knows we've talked about what happens to animals, and that he's aware of what he's eating, but he just doesn't obviously have like the brain power to really put two and two together.
Yeah.
So I think that time may come. It is a difficult just thought in my mind as a parent, like, okay, how do I handle this? Like, do I scare the crap out of him, or do we go there and so he can see it in real life? I don't know, because my little sister, she's the youngest in our family. She is going to be 20 this year.
Okay.
She doesn't eat vegan. She's actually a really picky eater. So her diet's more like chicken nuggets and ranch dressing and Red Bull at this point in her life. Unfortunately, as much as I try to tell her
Yeah.
vegetables are important and not to drink Red Bull. But she did 4-H as a kid. That's one things that my mom was able to do with the kids while she had cancer. She battled cancer for 5 years, and she still managed to get up every day and get them taking care of animals in 4-H, which was incredible. But my little sister, she's seen it. She's raised an animal, she's seen it slaughtered, and she's just like, yep, that's what happens, and doesn't faze her at all. As a matter of fact, she like has been so hands-on. She feels like she could be like a veterinarian because that arena just doesn't bother her at all.
Right.
And so there's that side of it too. Like you meet somebody like my sister, she's kind of like into like gory stuff, I guess. Like she could be a police officer on like crime scenes with like, I don't know, blood and guts on the ground, and it
Yeah.
wouldn't faze her. So yeah, how do I parent? I guess that is a
Yeah.
very tough road to go down and learn. And the only right way to do it is going with your gut and feeling it out. And there's no one size fits all. And yeah, so it's an everyday battle.
Yeah. And there is something to be said about, like I'm very much a person who says, like, to each his own. I'm going to give you all of the facts, and then you are in charge of making your own decision and your own life, because that is the way that, I would have wanted to be raised, right? Where anything that, as long as you have researched and as long as you are comfortable and you have explored every avenue, then whatever you choose to do is on you.
Yep.
And so I think that the way you're going about it is good, because you're gonna let them make their own choices, and you're showing them the way to be by living it.
Yeah, setting an example. Exactly. Yep. You've got my wheels turning on it's like my family's kind of divided, truly. And it's not a bad thing, but it just is how we are right now. But it does make me wonder what things would look like in the future once my son starts to grow older, because in my personal experience, I felt very like violated and betrayed and lied to once I started watching all of these documentaries. And like in my late 20s, early 30s, I was thinking to myself, why didn't anyone tell me about this? Why didn't I know about this? And like it's this big secret, and it is surprising in America compared to other parts of the world, because in other countries they have these graphic warnings on animal products and obviously drugs and alcohol, and they're much more kind of what we're talking about. Is like, do you scare them or do you just wait till it's the right time?
Yeah.
It's a tough balance. But I do feel like I wish I would have known a long time ago, at least known. And then, yeah, you can make your own decision, I suppose.
Yeah. Yeah. So we're getting to our last 7 minutes here. I wanted to give you a chance to tell people how to reach out to you and what you have going on. And
Sure. Oh, thank you for that. Well, it is funny because kind of the last part of my tagline about how I'm still trying to build my identity is I still don't really know where I belong other than being a parent, being a mom. And I have all of these like niche areas of my life that I feel like I'm really good at. And I spend a lot of time in those areas, but not one of them is like anything big. It's all just small stuff, right? So my favorite part of who I am today is I'm a home chef. I'm passionate about food. I'm passionate about health food. I love salad. I've always loved salad, and I've been even more so like gung-ho about salad once I became vegan. And I will post on my Instagram, which is called what did I change it to? It's not malicious is my tag. Okay. And I just do that for fun. I post videos and I post pictures of food that I make, recipes that I use to make all these things from home, like where I got it from, who was the blogger, or who was what other Instagram person did I find it from. And I really enjoy that part. I feel like I kind of was born to be like a volunteer, a philanthropist. Like I just love to give, really no expectation of anything in return. And my husband's always like, they're going to pay you for that, right? And I'm like, no, like I want to share. Like yesterday, I was just at a sandwich shop here, and they don't have any vegan options. And I just casually said to the guy at the counter, I said, I hate to pry, but if you happen to ever think about adding a vegan option to your menu, like I'd love to help you come up with some ideas. And he was like, actually, da 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 da. And they already were trying to revamp their menu. He said, I have vegan cookbooks on my nightstand, and I've been trying to, thumb through them and find a good idea for a sandwich. And I was like, I'd love to help. Can I get your email? And it turned out to be the owner. Wow. And so I emailed him And that's always like that hard road. Like, do you go down, like, are they going to be offended and be like, get out of my business, or are they going to be welcoming? And he was so welcoming. And so I kind of offered it. I was like, well, I'd love to, here's my ideas, and I'd love to help you in the kitchen if you would want help. Because I kind of suggested making a cashew sauce if he wants to kind of go all out, or some other like kind of more inventive ideas with ingredients he doesn't already have in their kitchen. And so I feel like that part of me is more like volunteering to help. So on my Instagram, I have a blog, and I don't have much on there at all. But if you go to it, there's a free section that I had, the pantry and freezer items that I think that everybody should kind of like have stocked in their kitchen. So you can go to my blog and download that little sheet for free, and yeah, kind of just follow along and see what else we come up with. I think that posting videos is one of my favorite ways to share with people, and vice versa. Watching videos of people and the food they make is just so inspiring to me. It always gets my gears turning.
Yeah.
That's the biggest part of what I like to do. I'm also an artist, so I draw logos and I draw flowers. My husband and I own a sticker business, and so I get to participate in kind of like the back office side of things for that. But yeah, if you find me on my non-malicious page, you can kind of see all the fingers spreading off.
Awesome.
But I think that's just about it.
All right. Thank you so much. Yeah. So if anyone is watching now or on the replay or listening to this podcast, please look up Tasha. Check out her food. I am excited to see what happens next for you and where you go with this, and to follow along on your story.
Thank you. I'm excited too.
All right.
Thank you for having me tonight. This was great.
Thank you. Thank you so much for being here. And if you're watching this on YouTube, please like, subscribe, and share. Advantage of that freebie, because that's one of the first things I wanted to know. As soon as you said like you helped other people with a list of what they should have in their fridge and freezer, I was like, I wonder if she gives that list out. So I'm really glad to see that you do. So definitely take advantage of that. And thank you for watching another episode of Galit Speaks, and I will see you next week for another topic. Have a great night, everyone.